I'm Vanessa Craig, 29 years old, a financial analyst in Syracuse, New York. I used to believe that family love was worth every sacrifice. For years, I gave everything, supporting them, carrying their burdens, and putting my own dreams aside. I thought one day they would finally see me as the one holding our fractured family together, the daughter who never let them fall. So, I planned my dad's birthday down to every detail, perfect in my mind. I believed this would be the moment we healed. But right there at the party, my brother stood up, raised his glass, and sneered, "The best gift is you leaving forever." My mother smirked, her eyes cold. Silence swallowed the room. Those words cut like a knife, slicing through every ounce of loyalty and hope I had carried. I took a deep breath, lifted my glass, and said firmly, every word sharp and steady, "Okay, but remember this. Don't come to me when you need something." Their faces froze. I tossed my card to the waiter, split the bill, and walked out, my heels echoing through the glittering room like a verdict they couldn't ignore. 2 days later, my phone lit up nonstop with their calls. I replied with one line. "Forgot already. It's only been 48 hours. If you gave everything to your family only to be rejected, how would you respond?" Share your honest thoughts in the comments below. Growing up in Syracuse, New York, I was the kid who never seemed to measure up. My brother, 3 years older, was my mother's golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. She'd beam when he walked in, tossing his jacket on the couch, while I was just the shadow trailing behind. When I was 12, my father lost his job at the factory, and our world tilted. Bills stacked like bricks, and the fridge was often half empty. By 14, I was babysitting neighbors' kids and delivering newspapers before school, scraping together cash to keep us fed. Every dollar I earned went to groceries or utilities, but it was never enough to earn a smile from Mom. She'd say, "Your brother's got big dreams. He needs room to shine." His dreams apparently meant sneaking out for card games and racking up debts he never paid. I came home from my shifts with hands raw from folding papers, only to hear my father sigh, "Just help out, Vanessa. It's what families do." But Nolan would stroll in, flashing a grin, and Mom would slip him cash for emergencies. Emergencies like new sneakers or late-night poker. Once I found a debt collector's letter addressed to him, $5,000 owed to some shady casino. I paid it off with my savings, thinking it would keep us afloat. Mom just shrugged. "Nolan's going through a phase," she said. Dad stayed quiet, eyes glued to the TV. My efforts were invisible, like pouring water into a cracked bucket. They praised Nolan's charm and bold ideas, while my sacrifices were expected, a silent rent for existing in their house. I remember one Christmas, working double shifts to buy gifts for everyone. I got Mom a scarf, Dad a toolbox, Nolan a leather wallet. They thanked me, sure, but Mom spent the evening gushing over Nolan's scribbled card. I forced a smile, my chest tight. Another time, I overheard Mom telling a neighbor, "Nolan's our star. He'll make it big someday." I was in the next room balancing our checkbook to cover the electric bill. It stung, but I swallowed it, thinking one day they'd see me. Nolan's debts kept climbing. Another $2,000 here, $3,000 there. I covered them, hoping it would keep the peace. Dad would pat my shoulder. "You're a good kid," but never once told Nolan to step up. School was my escape, but even there, the weight followed me. Teachers asked why I looked exhausted, and I dodged the question. I was juggling homework, 2 jobs, and Nolan's messes. At 16, I found a stack of unpaid bills hidden in Mom's drawer. Phone, water, gas, all past due. I used my entire paycheck to clear them, surviving on instant noodles for weeks. Mom noticed, but instead of thanks, she said, "Don't tell your brother. He's got enough on his plate." His plate apparently held late-night bars and bad bets. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I kept working, kept paying, kept hoping they'd notice I was holding us together. Nolan's gambling wasn't a secret. Neighbors whispered about it, and I'd overhear Dad muttering about that boy's trouble, but they never stopped him. Mom defended him. "He's young. He'll figure it out." Meanwhile, I was the one figuring out how to keep the lights on. By my senior year, I'd saved enough to think about college, but half went to another of Nolan's debts, a car loan he defaulted on. "No thank you," Mom said. "Family comes first, Vanessa." I nodded, but inside I was starting to crack. Their favoritism wasn't just words. It was a wall I couldn't climb. When I started college at Syracuse University, I thought it would prove I was enough. Studying financial analysis, I juggled classes with 2 part-time jobs, waitressing at a diner and tutoring high school students in math. Every paycheck I sent home to keep the family afloat. Then, during my freshman year, Dad was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. Hospital bills hit like a freight train. $10,000 for the first round of chemo, then $20,000 more for scans and meds. I took on extra shifts, skipping sleep to cover those costs. Mom would call, her voice trembling. "We need you, Vanessa. Your father's fighting for his life." I believed her, thinking my sacrifices would finally make them see me. But Nolan's shadow still loomed. He was out of college chasing get-rich-quick schemes and losing more at poker tables. His debts kept piling up, $3,000 to a bookie, another $4,000 for a busted loan. I paid them off, dipping into my student loans, telling myself it was for family. Mom never mentioned it. Instead, she'd sigh over the phone. "Nolan's trying so hard. He just needs a break." A break from what? Blowing money at casinos. I'd bite my tongue, wiring another $2,000 to cover his latest mess, hoping one day they'd notice my effort. By sophomore year, I was drowning. My grades slipped because I was working 30 hours a week on top of full-time classes. Dad's treatment costs kept climbing, another $15,000 for radiation. I sold my old laptop and skipped meals to send money home. Mom called one night, her tone sharp. "You're doing well in school, Vanessa. Don't let us down." I was barely holding myself together. She'd follow up with stories of Nolan's potential, how he was this close to landing a big deal. I'd nod, stomach twisting, wondering why my sacrifices never measured up to his empty promises. Junior year, I took a third job, data entry at a small firm, to keep up with Dad's bills. A hospital letter arrived demanding $8,000 for unpaid scans. I drained my savings to cover it, eating ramen for a month. Mom sent a text. "Thanks, but don't tell Nolan. He's stressed enough." Stressed from what? Losing at blackjack. I wanted to confront her, but her soft, pleading voice echoed in my head. "Family sticks together, Vanessa." That guilt tethered me like a rope I couldn't cut. I kept sending money, thinking love was earned through bank transfers. One spring break, I visited home. Dad was frail, his cough echoing through the house. I spent hours researching treatment options, calling doctors to negotiate payment plans. Nolan showed up, sporting a new watch, bragging about some failed investment. I overheard Mom whispering to him, "You'll make it big. Don't worry about her." Her words burned, but I buried the hurt, focusing on Dad's next appointment. I paid another $5,000 for his meds, skipping my own textbook purchases. Mom hugged me, but it felt hollow, like a box checked off a list. Senior year, I was exhausted, but still believed I could win them over. I aced my finals, landed an internship at a financial firm, and sent home every spare dollar, $12,000 for Dad's chemo and $6,000 for Nolan's latest car repair he dodged. Mom called, her voice heavy. "You're a rock, Vanessa. We'd be lost without you." Then she'd pivot, praising Nolan's hustle, how he was destined for greatness. I'd hang up, chest tight, wondering when I'd finally be enough. My roommate noticed my stress, saying I looked like I was carrying the world. I brushed it off, but deep down I knew she was right. I graduated with honors, thinking it had changed things. Over 4 years, I'd paid $35,000 in medical bills and $10,000 in Nolan's debts. I waited for a thank you, a moment where they'd see me as more than a paycheck. But Mom's calls only grew more desperate. Nolan's mess is bigger, and Dad's silence heavier. I clung to the hope that one day they'd value me the way I valued them. After graduation, I thought I'd finally belong, but their demands only increased. I landed a job as a financial analyst in Syracuse, pulling in $60,000 a year. The work was grueling, long hours, endless spreadsheets, clients breathing down my neck, but it meant I could keep the family afloat. Every month, I wired $2,000 to Mom for Dad's medical bills, chemo, hospital stays, and pain meds. The costs devoured half my paycheck. Nolan's gambling debts were another black hole. He'd call, smooth-talking, promising to pay me back, then drop another $3,000 on a bad bet. I covered it, wiring money to keep debt collectors off our doorstep. I told myself it was for Dad, to ease his stress, but deep down, I hoped they'd finally value me. I pinched pennies, living in a cramped apartment, skipping dinners to send more cash home. Last year alone, I sent $10,000 for Dad's treatments and $7,000 to bail Nolan out of a loan shark mess. Mom would text, "You're a lifesaver, Vanessa." But her words felt like a pat on the head, not gratitude. Nolan never mentioned the money, only bragged about his latest failed business venture. I'd check my dwindling bank account, wondering why I was still trying to prove myself. When Dad's 60th birthday approached, I saw a chance to change things. I wanted to give him something special, to show I was more than a walking ATM. I spent weeks planning a party at Maplewood, a high-end restaurant in Syracuse known for its steak and wine. I booked a private room, chose a menu with Dad's favorite dishes, grilled salmon, roasted potatoes, and ordered a custom cake reading "Happy 60th Dad" in blue icing. The cost was steep, $2,000, but I didn't flinch. I also splurged on the real gift, a week-long trip to Hawaii for Dad and Mom. $15,000 for flights, a beachfront hotel, and tours. I imagined them smiling, Dad's tired face lighting up, Mom finally saying, "You did good, Vanessa." I called Mom to share the plan. "Sounds nice," she said, her tone flat, like I'd just told her about a grocery list. I pressed, explaining the Hawaii trip would give Dad a break from hospital visits. "That's a lot of money," she replied. "You sure you can afford it?" Her words stung sharply, but I brushed them off, thinking she was just worried. I asked if Nolan could help with the party, maybe pick up decorations. She laughed. "Oh, Nolan's busy with his projects. Don't bother him." Projects more like late-night poker. I swallowed my frustration, finalized the reservations, and sent her the menu for approval. No response. A week before the party, I visited home to check on Dad. He was weaker, his cough worse, but he managed to smile when I showed him the Hawaii itinerary. "Sounds like a dream," he said, then turned back to his TV. I waited for more, a thank you, a hug, but nothing came. Mom was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone, barely looking up. I mentioned the party details, hoping for excitement. "As long as it's not too much trouble," she said, her voice distant. I left feeling like I was shouting into a void. The day I booked the Hawaii tickets, Nolan called, asking for a quick loan of $4,000 to settle a business debt. I hesitated. My savings were already stretched thin from the party and Dad's bills. "Can't you handle it?" I asked. He laughed, sharp and mocking. "Come on, Vanessa. You're the money machine." I wired the money, hating myself for it. Mom texted later. "Nolan's got big plans. Don't stress him out." Big plans. I was funding his casino runs while planning Dad's party alone. I poured hours into the details, confirming the guest list, ordering flowers, double-checking the cake. My evenings were spent calling vendors. Weekends were searching Hawaii resorts to ensure the trip was perfect. I told myself it would be worth it, that this party would finally show them I mattered. But Mom's indifference and Nolan's demands reminded me why I was chasing approval I'd never get. I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the party. I wanted one night where we felt like a real family, where my sacrifices weren't just expected but seen. The night of Dad's birthday felt like my last chance to prove I belonged. I'd spent weeks planning the party at a high-end Syracuse restaurant. Every detail was perfect. Reservations for 10. A custom cake with Dad's favorite chocolate frosting, and a gift I'd saved for months to afford, the $15,000 Hawaii trip. I stood at the head of the table, heart pounding as the waiter poured wine. My family sat around me, Dad frail but smiling faintly, Mom checking her phone. Nolan slouched with a smirk. A few cousins and aunts filled the seats. Their chatter was a low hum. I cleared my throat, raising my glass. "I want to celebrate Dad tonight," I said, voice steady. "I've got something special for you and Mom. A week in Hawaii. All expenses paid." I slid the envelope with the travel vouchers across the table, expecting gasps, maybe hugs. Instead, Nolan snorted, clinking his glass against the table. "The best gift is you leaving forever," he said, venom dripping from every word. The room froze. Mom didn't flinch. She smirked, eyes glinting with amusement, like I was some joke she'd heard before. Dad stared at his plate, silent, fork unmoving. Cousins shifted uncomfortably. Years of paying bills, covering Nolan's debts, and holding them together flashed through my mind. I'd given everything, my savings, my time, my dreams, and this was what I got. A sneer and a laugh. I could have crumbled, but something snapped inside me. I set my glass down, hand steady despite the fire in my chest. "Okay," I said, locking eyes with Nolan. "But don't call me when you need something." I turned to Mom, her smirk fading. "That goes for you, too." My voice was calm, carrying the weight of a decade's worth of resentment. I wasn't their bank anymore. I was done. I pulled out my credit card, handed it to the waiter, and said, "Split the bill evenly. I'm not covering this." Nolan's jaw dropped, Mom's eyes widened. But I didn't wait for protests. I grabbed my coat, walked out, letting the door swing shut behind me. My heels clicked on the pavement, each step lighter than the last. In the car, I sat gripping the steering wheel. I'd spent years chasing their approval, thinking love was something bought with sacrifice. But that night, I saw the truth. They'd never see me as anything but a means to an end. I'd paid thousands for Dad's chemo, cleared Nolan's gambling debts, drained my savings for their survival. And for what? A cruel jab and a smirk. I started the engine, resolve hardening. I wasn't just walking away from the party. I was walking away from their hold on me. The restaurant's glow faded in my rearview mirror as I drove through Syracuse's quiet streets. I thought about the Hawaii trip, how I'd spent months budgeting for it, hoping it would bring us closer. Instead, it exposed the fracture I'd ignored for years. Nolan's words echoed in my mind. But they didn't break me. They freed me. I'd given them everything. Over $50,000 in medical bills and debts, countless sleepless nights, pieces of my own future. No more. I'd paid my dues, and I wasn't signing up for another round of their ingratitude. Back at my apartment, I turned off my phone, ignoring the first ping of a text from Evelyn. I knew what was coming, excuses, maybe apologies, probably demands, but I was done playing their game. I poured a glass of wine, sat on the couch, and felt a strange calm settle over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying their weight. I was just me, Vanessa, and that was enough. 2 days after walking out of Dad's birthday party, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Evelyn's number flashed first, her voicemail a desperate plea. "Vanessa, we're out of options. The hospital's demanding $12,000. I picked up her second call, cutting her off. "Forgot already. It's only been 48 hours, I said, my voice cold as steel. She stammered, but I hung up and blocked her number. Nolan's text came next, begging for $3,000 to clear a bad bet. I blocked him too. Dad's call followed, voice barely audible. "We need you, Vanessa." My thumb hovered, then pressed block. I'd spent years, over $60,000, on their medical bills and Nolan's debts. That chapter was over. Later that day, a letter arrived. Evelyn's handwriting on the envelope, detailing Dad's worsening condition, how they couldn't afford his meds without me. A line about my childhood, helping her bake cookies at 10, tugged at my heart, but it was a calculated move. I tore the letter in half, hands shaking. I wasn't their lifeline anymore. I'd given everything, sleep, dreams, sanity, to keep them afloat. No more. At work, a new challenge hit me. My boss emailed about a financial conference in Chicago, a chance to represent our firm and pitch to major clients. A high-stakes opportunity, but one client had just pulled out, threatening my team's biggest deal. I dove into damage control, crunching numbers to salvage the contract. Brian, my colleague and friend, stayed late with me, sorting through spreadsheets. "You've got this," he said, not a pep talk, but a fact. Working side by side, I felt a spark of confidence, not because he said so, but because I was proving it. I didn't need their approval to know my worth. That night, I couldn't sleep. Evelyn's letter echoed in my mind. I grabbed a notebook and started writing. Not a journal, but a story about a woman breaking free from chains she'd forged herself. The words poured out raw and real. I'd never written fiction before, but it felt like unlocking a door inside me. The next day, I signed up for a creative writing workshop in Syracuse. The instructor, a quiet woman named Lena, read my piece and said, "You've got a voice." It wasn't praise I'd sought. It was proof I could create something for myself. The conference prep consumed my days. I rebuilt the client pitch, pulling all-nighters to refine every slide. Brian helped, not by preaching but by challenging my ideas, sharpening them. We laughed over takeout at 2 a.m., stress easing with every joke. I realized I wasn't just fighting for the deal. I was fighting for me. A week later, another call came from a withheld number. I didn't answer. The voicemail was Evelyn's voice, softer this time, begging for one last payment for Dad's chemo. I deleted it. My resolve was iron. Their desperation was real, but it wasn't my burden. I'd paid enough, financially, emotionally, mentally. I blocked the number, chest lighter with each step away from their chaos. Outside work, I kept exploring. The writing workshop became a haven where I crafted stories about freedom, loss, and starting over. One evening, I shared a piece with the group, voice steady, as they nodded, some even clapping. It wasn't about their approval, it was about me finding my own. I started running in the mornings alone. The rhythm of my steps cleared my mind. Each run reminded me I was enough without their weight. The conference loomed, and I felt ready, not just for the pitch, but for the life I was building. I wasn't running from them. I was running toward myself. Their calls, letters, and guilt trips couldn't touch me anymore. I was Vanessa, not their savior. And that was enough. Months later, my life was mine again, while their world crumbled. I threw myself into work, leading a major client pitch that landed our firm a $1 million account. My nights were spent in a Syracuse art studio, painting bold strokes of color that felt like reclaiming pieces of myself. But their chaos wasn't done chasing me. A colleague sent me a screenshot of Nolan's latest post on a local forum. Vanessa Craig ditched her dying dad for a fancy job. He claimed I'd stolen family savings and left them to rot. The lies spread, strangers piling on, calling me heartless. It stung. Not because I cared about their judgment, but because Nolan's betrayal was brazen, splashed across the internet. I could have fought back, posted the truth about the $60,000 I'd spent on bills, Dad's chemo, and Nolan's debts, but that would have meant stepping back into their mud. Instead, I reported the post and blocked Nolan's profile. I wasn't playing his game. A few days later, Melissa called, her voice heavy. We met at a diner, the smell of fries in the air. She didn't sugarcoat it. Nolan had been fired from his dealership job after missing shifts to gamble. He owed $8,000 to a bookie. Evelyn and Dad were sinking under $25,000 in medical debt, their phone cut off by creditors. "They're blaming you," Melissa said, stirring her coffee. "Evelyn says you abandoned them." I leaned back, jaw tight. "They abandoned themselves," I said. Melissa didn't argue. She'd seen their favoritism my whole life, always siding with Nolan. I'd given them everything, my savings, my time, my energy. I wasn't going back. "Thanks for telling me," I said to Melissa, "but I'm done cleaning up their mess." She nodded, quiet respect in her eyes. I paid for our coffees and left, my steps firm. Work became my refuge. The client pitch had earned me a bonus, and my boss hinted at a promotion to team lead. I spent late nights refining investment strategies, my laptop glowing in my apartment. Every spreadsheet I built, every deal I closed, proved I didn't need their approval to shine. I started saving for a trip, maybe Italy, somewhere I'd never been. The money I had once sent home, $15,000 for Dad's hospital stays, $6,000 for Nolan's loans, now went to my own dreams. It felt like breathing again. Painting became my outlet. I'd enrolled in a community art class, expecting to dabble. But the first time I mixed crimson and gold on a canvas, I was hooked. My paintings weren't masterpieces, just raw, messy expressions of freedom. One piece, a swirl of blues and grays, captured the storm I'd left behind. My instructor, Sam, called it powerful. I didn't need his praise, but it felt good to create something that was mine alone. I signed up for an art show at the community center, my first chance to share my work publicly.